Hello. I want to speak about the student, the young American student who's being held in North Korea. And this is a case that has got quite a lot of attention, although it's not the only case of its kind. But this particular case has got a lot of attention, I think, because of the age of the person involved, because of the circumstances. So basically, this American student, Otto Warmbier, if I am pronouncing his name correctly, he's only 21 years old. He went to North Korea via a Chinese tour company, I believe on January the 2nd, and was arrested 5 days later, leaving the country on the charge of theft. Apparently, he had taken a political banner from a hotel in Pyongyang. Now, the official crime for which he was charged was a lot more serious than theft. The North Korean government has accused him of being an American spy, and subverting the unity of the Korean people for purposes of espionage for the American government. That's not the exact words, but it's along those lines. Um, I want to speak a little bit about this case and my thoughts on it, because I do have thoughts on this case, and all I would ask is that people hear me out. Whether you agree or disagree with me, all I would ask is that you hear out the points that I'm making. So, a lot of the reaction to this online has been very, well, frankly, callous. By the way, to give a bit more background, yeah, I should give a bit more background before saying my own thoughts. But basically, this guy's 21. He's a student of the University of Virginia. He's originally from Ohio. Um, he also has experience at the London School of Economics, so clearly he's not. Clearly has some academic prowess. He's been to respected establishments, so in that sense, he's at least on the surface got some academic prowess. He's only 21. He was going on this tour of North Korea um, via a Chinese company, um, and it's the Swedish embassy that is dealing with the case. The United States doesn't have any direct communications with North Korea, as I understand it. So it's the Swedish embassy that is dealing with his case. Initially, I thought because he, like, based on the name, I thought he was maybe of Swedish descent, but that's beside the point. Um, anyway, the case has been highlighted or kind of brought to the attention of the State Department. There have been prominent figures, including John Kasich, governor of Ohio, of course, and Bill Richardson, who have raised the issue. Bill Richardson, I believe, recently met a North Korean delegation. There have been other examples in recent years where leading American politicians have had to get involved in diplomacy. Bill Clinton, of course, rescued those two young women, or whatever way you want to put it. There was a case of Kenneth Bai, the American citizen, who was held by the North Koreans. There's been a number of high profile cases. So this is only the latest, but I think it's quite a striking one because what basically happened was after a trial of 1 hour, he was found guilty and sentenced to 15 years of hard labour, which is, under any reasoning, a very, very harsh sentence. Now, I don't actually think that they're going to carry that out. I don't think he's going to get the full 15 years. But nevertheless, I think that, you know, he made a very, very tearful apology, basically broke down. And all I can say is basically, I'll just put it out there what my views on this are. And people may say I'm as foolish as he is, but you know what? I cannot help but feel some humanity towards this young man. And this is the thing, right? When this case was reported, all the responses were like, "Oh, he's a jackass. Serves him right for being so stupid. He's an idiot. What did he expect?" Etc. 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 Now, this is my reading. I think everyone can agree what the guy done was thoroughly stupid. You do not go to a country like North Korea and do anything that is going to piss them off. This is the world's most secretive state. It's a Stalinist authoritarian dictatorship. It's utterly paranoid of outsider activity. It's utterly, utterly, utterly totalitarian in nature. So I think everyone can agree that what he done was thoroughly stupid. And for someone who's educated, it's difficult to fathom why he would do that. Apparently, there's a background story that his family is struggling with financial difficulties and something to do with that. But regardless of what his motivation was, it was a stupid thing to do. But I defy anybody who's judging this young man to say that they didn't do stupid things in their own lives. I mean, a lot of people are being very quick here to say, oh, let him rot. I've literally seen comments like that, let him rot. And, people will say that I'm stupid, but, I am acknowledging that what he done was reckless. But I think that some of these comments are disappointing. There is a callous indifference to what this young man is going through. And you know what? Call me too soft, but I feel sorry for him. I I cannot help when I see this young man. I cannot help but feel sympathy and sadness for the plight that he is going through. I mean, I can't imagine the hell that he's going through right now, and the hell that his family's going through. Has he brought it on himself? Yes, he has. But again, let's put things in context here. He stole a poster. 15 years hard labour. Now, the thing about cases like this is people always come out and say, it's their country, their rules, and this sort of thing. And I agree that when you go to another country, and I've uploaded another video about this actually. A quick point, by the way, I've uploaded a lot of videos, so the exact chronology may be a bit mixed up. So some of the things I say in videos, yeah, the chronology may just be a little bit mixed up because I've uploaded several, and I haven't managed to completely upload them all yet. You know, I know different countries have their own rules, and sovereignty is a very, very sacred issue, but to me, a basic concept of humanity has to trump everything, including sovereignty. That might be a controversial thing to say, but basically, if you go along the lines of sovereignty means a country could do whatever it wants, you could literally have a government killing tens of thousands of its own people, and that government can say it's our country, our rules, as a justification for what's doing. So my problem with that argument is it can be used as an excuse for anything, absolutely anything. And I'm prepared to make another video about that. It's a very complex, and it's something that can be strongly debated, but it's something that I would be prepared to do it because I believe there has to be an international trend towards a level of basic human rights. And that shouldn't be, we have this concept. I say we, but what I mean is the internet community has this concept that if you care about human rights, if you care about human dignity, then it's sort of woolly left wing thinking. To me, it's not. It's basic human decency. It's nothing to do with left or right wing. It's basic human decency. Um, there are some who are saying he's a privileged American, he deserves a slap in the face. And there's a lot of different comments going out there. In the end of the day, this is a 21-year-old young person who's facing a desperate situation. And it saddens me that people are just so utterly callous about it. I'm not saying everyone is, but a lot of people are just utterly. I can understand people saying something like, well, he's brought it on himself, but I hope he's released soon. That's more or less I would agree with. But what I find difficult to accept is people saying things like, let him rot. I mean, what the hell? He has done something stupid, reckless, selfish in some ways. But let him rot. Seriously, where is the? That I really struggle with that. But I will say one thing. The State Department has responded by saying the onus should be on the North Koreans to prove his alleged crime. I mean, this allegation that he's spying for the American government is clearly nonsensical. If the American government is going to get spies in a country like North Korea, they're not going to use some 21-year-old kid who's doing reckless things. That wouldn't be very clever espionage. If you're going to do espionage, you're going to have the best people in the field. So the claim is nonsensical. But I think once again the hideous regime in North Korea is using this as a political weapon. And by the way, I don't give a damn if anyone is insulted by my views on the North Korean government. I am aware that there will be the likes of Youth Revolution, my old nemesis Youth Revolution, who will be slavishly defending the comrade and Pyongyang and all the rest of it. This is the irony. People like Youth Revolution, and if you watch a few of my videos, you'll know who I'm talking about. He's a young British guy who's a slavish apologist for the North Korean regime. I I extend humanity even to people that I don't like. So if Youth Revolution was taken by the North Koreans, if he went there with some utopian vision that he's going into a socialist paradise, and then they suddenly arrested him as a British spy and he was holed up, and then he broke down and had to make a tearful apology, I would say, I know that guy. He's a jackass, but I don't wish that on anyone. We have to have some concept of humanity here. And in the end of the day, what we're talking about is a 21-year-old. 21. This is a guy who was born in 1995. He's 21 years old. We're not talking about someone who's had years and years of life experience. I defy anybody to say they didn't do something stupid at 21. I certainly did. I'm 30 years old. I've done stupid things in my life that I'm not particularly proud of. Okay, I haven't done anything that drastic, but what can I say? I mean, admittedly, I find it hard to comprehend what must have been going through his head when he done this. I'm sure he knew it was a stupid thing to do, but when I look at that news conference of him crying his eyes out, yes, I feel sympathy, and I don't feel bad for saying that. If you see this young man in that situation and your first response is fuck him, you have to be a pretty cold person. I mean, what if that was your son or your younger brother or whatever? It saddens me that people are so callous about it. Now, his actions are stupid, and he's put his country once again in a very difficult situation. I think, and I hope sincerely that he is released soon. Obviously, State Department's going to do a lot of ass kissing. Sorry for the crude language, but they're going to have to do a lot of basically sucking up the Pyongyang. It's the only way to get him released. But when they do, I really, really think Western governments need to basically get a grip on this. What I mean by that is they should simply forbid their citizens from traveling to North Korea. As it stands, the situation is this. Now, I can't speak for other countries, but I know with my country, our Foreign Office, the British Foreign Office, advises against travel to North Korea and warns that they may not be able to provide consular assistance. That's ridiculous. They should simply say, we will not issue a visa for you to go to North Korea. Full stop. North Korea, um, although it is the world's most secretive state, does have some little glimmers of openness. They have a marathon in Pyongyang, and they have some other guided tours and so on. This is a travesty. Basically, these are stunts by the North Korean regime to do themselves favors, probably to get themselves money for more uh, banquets for Kim Jong Un and his cronies. That's how this sort of totalitarian regime works. Sure as hell isn't to benefit the North Korean people. And another point about the allegation, when when they say things like they have hurt the unity of all the Korean people, this is the same old line that most totalitarian regimes use. It's basically trying to make it an ultra nationalistic issue by saying that the offence is against the Korean people. So, stealing a political party's slogan, probably praising the Kim dynasty, is somehow an insult to starving North Korean people. It's a fucking travesty. Sorry for the language, but I detest the regime over there, and it's what they use as a political weapon. Um, Now, what people like this do, what young fools that make these sort of mistakes do, is they put the country in a very difficult position of having to negotiate. The State Department is not going to let this young man just rot away. They're not going to do that. But I think there has to be a lesson from this. As I understand it, he got his visa from China. So why not have a deal between Washington and Beijing, or between London and Beijing, to say to the Chinese that we want good relations, but please don't issue visas to our citizens. I think the Chinese would actually be quite open minded about that. I think that would be something that they would accept because that's how he got there in the first place. Um, but there really, really has to be, because basically, I mean, whilst I sympathise with this young man, I don't have a lot of respect for for Westerners who go to North Korea, because it's one of two things. Either they're delusional apologists for the regime, like Youth Revolution, or they are incredibly naive people who think it might be some sort of exotic adventure. Both attitudes are clearly wrong. Basically, this is not a and there's no humanitarian endeavor by going there, because your entire trip is controlled by official guides, so it's entirely controlled by the state anyway. Um, as for missionaries going to North Korea, I don't believe in imposing theocracy on anywhere, including a communist hellhole. I don't believe in imposing religion on anywhere, and I think again, it's thoroughly reckless. You know, you're not going to convert people by putting a Bible in a hotel in Pyongyang. It's just downright stupid. All you're going to do is get yourself arrested and probably put those North Koreans who you have spoken to in danger. You're actually putting their lives in danger. So that's my thoughts on this matter. I do hope this young man is released soon. I have humanitarian sympathy with what he is going through, but that doesn't mean that I am making excuses for what he done. It was a thoroughly, thoroughly stupid thing to do. It sure as hell doesn't warrant 15 years hard labour. But I really think that when, and I do think this case will be resolved, but when it is, democratic governments, I was going to say Western governments, basically democratic governments in general, should have very, very strict rules. Simply don't let their citizens go to North Korea, because the regime uses tourism as propaganda, and they use it basically to send money to the regime. It doesn't benefit North Korean people because Pyongyang is an isolated zone. That's where the most privileged North Koreans live. This regime is a complete travesty. And anyway, I'll round the video up there. That's how I feel about it. I don't agree with those who are saying let him rot. Why? Because he is 21 years old, and because I believe everyone is capable of doing something thoroughly stupid in their life. And this attitude, he done something stupid, so we're going to leave him there. It's a bit like one strike and you're out. What should happen is the State Department should try its level best to help their citizen out, put the onus on the North Koreans to prove his crime, etc., etc. Use diplomatic cards, ask Kiss if necessary. But when he gets back to the States, kind of use him as an example to say, just don't do this. Do not go to North Korea under any circumstances. And he should apologize to the State Department as well for putting them in this position. This apology to the North Korean people is it's a travesty. Clearly, that is under duress. I'm not saying he was tortured, but clearly he's been pressured to do that. Um, So yeah, that is my thoughts on the matter. If you disagree with me, feel free to say why, but please keep it respectful because you know I'm under no illusions here. What he done defies belief. I can't comprehend what was going through his mind, especially for an educated young person. But that is the underlying emphasis of this. Truthfully, I would have less sympathy if this was, I don't know, a 42-year-old communist who was deluded. But this is a foolish young man who done something very, very reckless. Let's try and be humane about this. Yes, acknowledge the fact he was reckless, but try and I don't know. I think people just have to have some humanity with this. I'm not a father, but I can't help but think if that was my son, how would I feel? If it was my younger brother, if it was, you know, thanks for watching.